So we'll talk about Arkansas right now. We were saying earlier that the SEC, with you add two other teams, a competitive league becomes even more daunting. What was the feeling of Arkansas football here in the offseason coming out of 2024 and getting into the new season?
Yeah, it's an interesting year because something that a lot of people have been asking me about is how hot is Sam Pittman's seat? And it's interesting how it has changed from last season because last season it almost felt like a foregone conclusion. It just felt like, all right, it was a matter of when, not if. And then they make a bowl and they decide that they're going to keep him around. And I really feel like now the conversation, at least among the fan base, is less, it doesn't feel the same way as it did last year. It doesn't feel inevitable. It feels like, all right, if you make a bowl, he'll be around. And he has said, I believe he did an interview with On3 earlier this offseason, where he said he wants to finish out his contract, which has 3 years left on it. And so I think, as far as how people are feeling about the season, I think it's hard because they got a great win over Tennessee last season, but at the same time, I don't think last season was what anybody really wanted. You make a bowl, you win the Liberty Bowl, that's great. But I don't think anybody is particularly satisfied. I don't think Sam Pittman is satisfied. And he talked about that, about how we don't want to just scrape by and get to a bowl. We want to do more than that, and we intend to. I think it's difficult because of how hard their schedule is. They have a really hard non-conference schedule on top of an SEC schedule that's just always going to be pretty difficult. And so I think it's hard to, I don't think anybody really knows what to expect. And I think from a fan base standpoint, people are trying not to get any hopes up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it really does. But I think you're right that it felt like Pittman was one of those. And if you talked a year ago, he and Billy Napier at Florida were the two coaches most likely to be fired in December. And yet both came through, both had winning seasons, both made bowl games, and both now have some promise for the future. And I think that's where you want to be. At the same time, I think that you no longer have divisions. And so I think with, even though, like you said, right now it's a tough schedule on paper, but you never know with injuries and things may happen. You may catch a break or two, and all of a sudden you improve on last year.
Exactly. And they beat Tennessee last year. I penciled that in as like, all right, that's a loss.
Sure.
And they get one that they weren't supposed to get. And so if you can do that, if you can win the games you're supposed to win, and then if you can sneak one or two that maybe on paper people don't expect you to, then that's how you make a season like they had last year. And so I think there's opportunities to do that. On the SEC schedule, they play Mississippi State, which is helpful. Missouri's had their number for ever since Missouri came to the SEC, basically. So that one's tough. And Missouri's been a good team for the last few years. And Auburn's on there, which I think some people have called Auburn as a sleeper playoff team. I don't really know what to make of Auburn right now. I know they have a great receiver core coming in, but we'll see. That's one where I'm waiting to, I don't want to pencil that in as a win or a loss yet, you know? But their non-conference is really tough. They've got Notre Dame and they've got Memphis on there, and that's really hard. They have Arkansas State for the first time ever. That's a big topic of conversation here in Arkansas. And Arkansas State has struggled in recent years, but it's early in the season. It's in Little Rock. It's one of those where you have to win. And if you struggle at all, there's going to be a problem. And then other than that, they open with Alabama A&M. And after Alabama A&M, it really just doesn't get any, it doesn't stay easy at all.
Right.